All right, hello and welcome. Thought you guys might just enjoy that one. I personally did. And yes, I admit that I did happen to notice the last thing that he said there. I won't bother repeating it, but I think you know what I mean. Hi and welcome. You've reached another Diamond Report Live. Yes, we are live once again, 10:04 p.m. on 8/11/24. We're going to do another live news broadcast. Hope you guys have had a good week. Hard to believe how fast the weeks are flying by, but they are. And no bombing in Israel, no bombing in Iran, at least not any more than usual. So we will see how things play out this week. We're going to look at a few bits of news tonight. So hope you guys are buckled up and ready to go. Thought you guys might like that little parody, the Kamala and Tim Walz phone call. It was a parody, but it was very, very close to the real thing. All right, let's look at needtoknow.news. Rep. Jamie Raskin leaks how Democrats aim to remove Trump from office if he wins. So this is something we've talked about on this show off and on. You know, if he does happen to win, which if there's even an election, first of all, if there's an election, of course it was going to be a rigged election. If it's a rigged election, it depends on how rigged it is, whether or not he's able to get in. If he does get in, they're going to remove him anyway. And that is what Raskin is saying here. Sounds like Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin said in a video filmed 6 months ago that Congress will stop Trump on January 6th, 2025. Wonder why that date? And create civil war conditions, quote unquote, is what he said. Raskin said Congress will use the insurrection clause in the 14th Amendment to stop Trump from taking office if he wins the 2024 election. A critic noted that Raskin revealed that he knows Trump will win. And then Democrats will orchestrate another insurrection to try to fool everyone again into believing Trump supporters are violent. Yeah. So there we go. The video of Raskin was made before the recent Supreme Court decision that found that a president has absolute immunity for acts within their core constitutional powers and a presumption of immunity for acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan will now be responsible for applying the Supreme Court's decision to the allegations in Trump's criminal case, including whether Trump's actions were, quote, official acts or private conduct that can be prosecuted. So there you go. And here is the post on Twitter from DC Drano. He posted it, but many other people put it up as well. I'll go ahead and play it if you haven't heard it yet. It says, Rep. Jamie Raskin says Congress will stop Trump on J6 using the 14th Amendment and create civil war conditions. These uniparty snakes are the greatest threat to our country that's ever existed, and they won't give up power without a fight.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly, and the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody and civil war conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring.
There you have it. 14th Amendment. They have no intention of letting Trump take power. If he does win, if there is an election, all these ifs. So be ready. They want their civil war, it sounds like, doesn't it, to you? So yeah. Anyway. Didn't know if you guys knew about that. The video's been out for a little while now, but thought I would play it on the show. And let you guys know about that. So let's see here. The next article I've got on needtoknow.news, Syria is retaking the oil fields from the U.S.-backed forces. Former President Trump openly admitted that U.S. troops were occupying a third of Syria just to secure the oil. Illegally, by the way. That has been the status quo throughout the Biden administration, but now Syrians are beginning to fight back, with liberal tribal forces recently liberating 31 square miles of occupied towns and a major oil field. The U.S. is bombing Syrians inside Syria without a declaration of war. U.S. government is sending aircraft carriers to help Israel bomb Iran, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen as major wars in the Middle East hang in the balance. 4,500 U.S. Marines and sailors have been sent to the eastern Mediterranean Sea to defend Israel. The majority of Americans oppose sending U.S. forces to defend the Jewish state from Iran. Yes, but it doesn't matter, because the people have no say in any of it, as we all know. And of course, the U.S. occupation of all these oil fields in Syria amounts to something like $30 million every day or every few days, or whatever the measurement is. It's a lot of money, I know that. And they're taking that oil and sending it for processing over in Turkey, is what I heard. So anyway, apparently the Syrians are a little tired of it, so they're trying to put an end to it. We will see how that unfolds. UK police arrest man for offensive, quote-unquote offensive, Facebook posts. British man filmed police arresting him for, quote, improper use of the Electronic Communications Network, end quote, under the Communications Act, for comments he made on a Facebook page. There are violent protests across the country following the murder of the 3 little girls at a dance party by a 17-year-old male who was born in Britain to migrant parents from Rwanda. Some people online mistakenly identified him as a Muslim migrant. 2 other people, Jordan Parler, 28, who lives in Leeds, and a 53-year-old woman from Alsager Parish, were also reported to have been arrested after posting online about the attack. Yvette Cooper, a Home Secretary, wrote in the Times that those who whip up hatred on social media will face the same reckoning as rioters. The problem is that the native population opposes mass migration into the UK and the loss of law and order. But it doesn't matter, does it? Authorities in the media are branding the protesters as, quote, far-right racists and anti-Muslim instead of addressing the underlying issue. Reports are linked here and here, but do not provide quotes from the accused. Authorities are implementing a 2-tier justice system favoring migrants and punishing the native population. A critic noted that free speech is the enemy. So the links that I referred to, one of them is BBC and the other is TimeTurk.com. So, yeah, they're just calling everyone who has anything to say against all of this that's going on over there. They're labeling everybody as far right, or far right extremists, or they have several other names I think they were calling them, but basically it's getting completely insane there. It says a British man filmed a pair of police officers entering his home and arrested him for improper use of electronic communications network. So this is it here. Let's go ahead and watch this. Very strange.
Okay, so
what do you mean I can't have any alcohol?
okay, well I'll tell you. Okay, the time's 20 to 3, 14:40. I'm arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network. I'm just
What?
127 of the Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say that may harm your defence. Do not mention one question subject to later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being
You're
arrested?
going to be arrested, okay?
Right,
Take
and
that to the police station.
Right.
Okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay.
oh really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets?
I got my keys. I got. No, that's about it. I think keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 of the Precinct and Murderers Act.
Right.
That's for dangerous items.
I mean, you said I was going to be arrested under somewhat information. I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made complaints about that, and it's
Can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well, we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully not.
Right. Do I need to take my medications with me?
Yes, we will look at taking all those.
When do you need to take them?
Well, I've got pain medications, I've got sleeping medication, I've got anxiety medications, which I might take one of those in a bit. Okay. You know.
Well, if we take everything with us, then you've got everything there, haven't you?
And then we've got a nurse up there. They'll be able to. They'll be able to come and see you, and then once you've been there, they can assess whether or not medication can be issued. All right. So what we're going to do is, you want to pop yourself up. We're just going to search.
You need the glasses.
Yeah, search you.
To come with you.
My glasses.
Yeah. Do you want to take them with you?
Yeah, this video is real. This really did happen. I'm not making this up. This is actually something that unfolded just a few days ago. It says a recent survey of more than 2,000 adults in the UK found that 2/3 believe social media companies should be held responsible for posts inciting criminal behavior, which critics believe will be used to chill free speech and criticism of the government. And note that the female officer there said that there was a complaint. They never told him who the complaint was from. I mean, the complaint could have been from the government itself, because they have different task force that are out there checking over these Facebook posts and things. So, a Facebook crime is what he said. Oh, a Facebook crime is it? The man asked. I mean, how insane is that? And it gets better. It gets better. So stay tuned. There's even more to this story as it's unfolding. I've got a few more tabs here pulled up where, let's just say they're trying to broaden the people who could be implicated here into other countries, meaning the U.S. So we're going to look at that in just a sec. All right. Some of the articles on technocracy.news. Technocrats get $2.2 billion from Biden for power grid upgrade for AI. The smart grid is getting a makeover, but unfortunately, we will get all the unreliable alternative energy, wind and solar, and the high priority sites like AI data centers will get all of the reliable energy generated from coal, natural gas, and oil. Mark my words, this guy's saying. Probably Patrick Wood of technocracy.news. In terms of technocracy, this is what is meant by balancing the load. So he's saying that the people will get the unreliable alternative energy. AI gets the good stuff. Apparently. That's just what he's guessing, and he might be right. AI Black Swan, power prices skyrocket on east and west coasts at a time when the power grid is being destroyed as unreliable alternative energy replaces plentiful coal and natural gas. The massive power consumption by humongous AI data centers is quickly becoming a black swan event for American consumers. Trump recently stated that AI will require the doubling of energy production in America. This is not possible with the current war against fossil fuels, period. So, pretty interesting, huh? AI requires a lot of computing power. Yeah, and then one more article on technocracy.news. American theocracy. Politics has become our national religion. Whitehead does not acknowledge technocracy, but hits on many key points. Technocracy stated in 1937 that there will be no place for politics or politicians. This is baked into their dogma. While people are drunk with hopium, chasing after political saviors, they are inadvertently destroying the political system. Meanwhile, technocracy races forward to ensnare us in a scientific dictatorship. So, anyway, those are the three main articles at the moment on technocracy.news. And if you want to read up on any of those, feel free to click on through there. And those articles are, I think, if I'm if I'm still correct, those articles are posted for a short time in full. And then after a few days, they are taken down or at least put behind a paywall where you can access them with a membership. So I have nothing to do with that. I'm just saying, if you want to see those articles, you should look at them pretty quickly because they will go away unless you're a subscriber. All right, MSN article I found. Videos show police at Trump rally airing frustration with Secret Service. So I don't know if you guys knew about this. This is the local Pennsylvania police. It says, complained in moments after last month's attempted assassination of Trump. They warned that the U.S. Secret Service in advance that the warehouse where the shooter was positioned needed protection, according to new videos obtained by Wall Street Journal and other places. I effing told them that they need to post guys effing over there. I told them that effing Tuesday, said a Butler Township officer in audio captured on his body-worn camera. I talked to the Secret Service guys. They're like, yeah, no problem. We're going to post guys over here. But we know what happened. So, anyway, the video, I'm assuming, is embedded here somewhere. If not, then you may need a subscription on MSN, which who wants that? But that video is freely available. You can find it on X and other places where you can hear the Pennsylvania Police Department folks talking about this stuff. So, yeah, pretty wild. And then speaking of which, Trump's plane was diverted to Billings, Montana over a mechanical issue while flying to a rally. The rally was in Bozeman. Says that his plane was diverted to Billings on Friday due to a mechanical issue. So, kind of interesting, huh? So, but apparently he was fine, and they did divert they diverted the plane, but I know they've had the rally in Bozeman as well. So, but interesting that it has to do with his plane. Let's hope the plane can stay intact. Not that I'm a huge Trump guy or anything, but man, I don't want to see anybody else getting killed, anybody else getting blown out of the sky or anything like that. So, now, this is what I was sort of alluding to a little while ago. This is another clip we're going to watch, and you can kind of use your own judgment here as to what this guy's saying. But this person here that's posted it on X says, England police say that they will extradite and imprison Americans over social media posts. Here it is.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up the hatred. You talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved. What are you considering when it comes to dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behaviour from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we'll come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the yobs who are causing the problems for communities.
So there you have it. They're going to come after everyone, supposedly. Now, do they really have that kind of power? I doubt it. But it is interesting. And obviously they want a full control grid, just like they have in China, where you have the social credit score system in place. While they're a little bit early on that, you can see where this whole thing will be going eventually. And I would say probably as soon as they can make it happen. So while I think this is really ridiculous and, yes, a serious overreach, you can see where just disagreeing with what the government is doing can get you arrested. This guy is espousing exactly that. So, anyway, there were some pretty interesting comments here. You can see a few what's being said. And this is some funny ones. So you could say that people aren't really agreeing with this too much. This meme here says, in 1776, the British demanded we hand over our weapons. We shot them. So, yeah. Pretty wild. There's some interesting photos. I'll leave it on that one. That's a good one. So, obviously, whoever posted this is probably already in jail. That is the insanity we are in for, my friends. All right. So, we were just talking about planes a minute ago. Did you guys see this? Did you know about this horrendous tragedy? Brazil plane crash horror. Passenger plane falls out of the sky. Passenger plane falls out of the sky in Sao Paulo, Brazil. According to local media, at the moment, it's not clear. Well, this was a while ago. How many people were on board? I believe it was 62. All dead. Plane crashed in Brazilian state of Sao Paulo. Twin-engine turboprop plane was flying from Cascavel in the southern state to Sao Paulo, to airport in Sao Paulo, when it went down in the town of Venhido. Footage circulating on social media showed the plane descending vertically, spiraling as it fell. The plane was carrying 57 passengers and 4 crew. Local authorities said there were no survivors. So I think there were 62 dead, though. That would only be 61, but everything I've seen said 62. So we're going to look a little bit closer at that in just a second. As soon as I get over to the pages I've got marked over here on the Liberty Beacon, I've got a full article and some other info on that. So yeah, that was quite the tragedy that just happened. All right, Revolver. Tim Walz unleashed a demonic bloodlust after Pelosi told him to tone down his pro-abortion stance. Now, I'm not real sure how old this footage is, but obviously it doesn't really matter because his stance hasn't changed. So this is Tim Walz, Kamala's choice for VP. His abortion stance is so extreme, even Nancy Pelosi told him to chill. Here's a video of him displaying his unhinged bloodlust. Yes, for killing babies, by the way. No Christian can vote for this.
And my record is so pro-choice, Nancy Pelosi asked me if I should tone it down. I stand with Planned Parenthood, and we won!
There you go. There you go. No Christian can vote for this, for sure. Or no Christian should vote for this. So yeah, I didn't know if you guys knew about that, but he's quite the radical. I think Walz has been picked even just since the last broadcast, if I remember right. If not, it was just right around then. So we haven't done a whole lot of airing of all of the dirt, as it were, on Tim Walz quite yet. But there's a lot out there. Let's just say that. Hillary makes one of her biggest online blunders trying to defend Tampon Tim. And, of course, that is Walz. I've heard some people pronounce it Waltz, but I think it's Walz. And they're okay having those kinds of walls, just not border walls, I guess. The left is scrambling to defend Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's under fire for a growing list of issues. Key among them is a decades-spanning stolen valor scandal in which Walz repeatedly and shamelessly lied about his service. Also, his radical trans agenda, including a bill that mandates tampons in boys' bathrooms, has earned him the viral nickname Tampon Tim. And you guys know on this show, we've already designated that name to Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada. So now we have two people with very similar names. We have Tampon Tim, of course, the person running for VP, but we also have Tampon Trudeau. So I will try and differentiate when those stories come up. In this case, we're talking about Tim. We covered this story from every angle, including the most disturbing, featuring Tim Walz and his creepy, cross-dressing sidekick. Hear from one of Tim Walz's most trusted advisors who would likely be asked to serve in the Harris-Walz administration. When I was pushing for the trans refugee bill, he was right there with me, this guy says.
You have said that Governor Walz has shown up for your community. You are the first out transgender legislator in Minnesota history. What did you mean by that? Expand on it a little bit.
Yes, of course. When we elected 11 new LGBTQ members to the House 2 years ago and created the Queer Caucus, and I started pushing the importance of the trans refuge bill that I carried, he was always right there. He understood that this is a way for us to help community members, to help people who are different.
Yeah, Well, the Queer Caucus. I like that. Very descriptive. So anyways, you can see who will be helping Tampon Tim in the next administration if they should get in, which of course will be the end of this particular country. What I was looking for, though, was to see what Crazy Hillary did. It says, at this point, the left's only strategy now seems to be spinning the Tampon Tim nickname as a positive, attempting to convince the public that it's actually a favor from the right. Hillary Clinton attempted this in a recent post on X, but it spectacularly backfired. Tim Walz's move to put tampons in boys' bathrooms is so out there that even Hillary Clinton couldn't actually mention it on her post on X. Instead, she skirted around the truth, lying to the American people again. So here's the post, apparently. How nice for the Trump camp to help publicize Governor Tim Walz's compassionate and common sense policy of providing free menstrual products to students in Minnesota public schools. Let's do this everywhere. So she put this out. Says, all right, and right on cue. Team Hillary shut down the comments of her post. She's so confident in this great policy and the wonderful Tampon Tim nickname that she doesn't want anyone actually talking about it. Makes sense, right? That's an interesting picture. But shutting down the comments didn't stop people from responding to Hillary. It quickly became clear that she had stepped into a hornet's nest and was getting stung at every turn. Poor Hillary, quote unquote, will look even more bloated now. Look at that shirt. Here's a sampling of what folks are saying online. We're publicizing it because Tampon Tim put them in the boys' restrooms. Tampons don't belong in a boys' restroom, Hillary. So it goes on and on. So Hillary stepped in it. And no, I don't mean sand on the beach. So, anyways, there you have it. That's on Revolver. Got a few more articles from here. UK police block entire North American continent from its website as they begin arresting non-violent Brits for inaccurate social media posts, as what they're saying is inaccurate. So this is more of what we were already talking about. UK is reeling after a violent 17-year-old Rwandan teen attacked and stabbed a group of innocent young girls, British girls, who are attending a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. The entire country is outraged. This wasn't the first horrific attack by migrants. It's been happening everywhere, including in the U.S. However, it does appear to be the one that has broken the UK's back. We covered this horrific story from the onset, and there's more here about that. And hundreds of thousands of people have been out there protesting and complaining that the migrants are being let in like this. So it's turned into a huge, what I was calling last week, a civil war, in a sense at least. And they should be outraged. And finally, they're stepping up and siding with what's right. But the government, of course, is going to crack down on everything and everyone that they can. So that article's on Revolver, and this one as well. You thought Governor Walz was bad before? Well, wait until you hear the latest. So it just goes on and on here. So this is about the stolen valor stuff. So this particular post that's embedded here, in case you missed it, here's a video of Tim Walz being confronted in 2009 for stolen valor. It would be a shame if this got shared everywhere. So yes, he has. I think the stolen valor thing is apparently what most people are the most offended by. says stolen valor gets worse for Kamala's VP pick. Here he is on a C-SPAN broadcast in 2007 on his military service. Quote, I spent 24 years in the National Guard, some of that full-time. I was an artilleryman. And let's see what he says.
Military background?
I spent 24 years in the National Guard, some of that full-time. I was an artilleryman. I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. My battalion provided base security throughout the European theater from Turkey to England in the early stages of the war in Afghanistan. And that same battalion is now in Iraq at this time.
So you can see the pause there where he's lying, and he knows he's lying. And notice he said his battalion was still serving there. He didn't say anything about himself. So there's all these little outs that he's probably claiming. But yeah, we know this is about stolen valor. So he's claiming to have been in combat when, of course, he was not. That's pretty important for those out there who are actually in combat. So there's a lot here on this particular article if you want to delve into it further. So yeah, not good news. Final nail in his stolen valor coffin just came from the most unexpected place, and that is CNN. Yeah, CNN was even highlighting it, how bad it was. I mean, you know it's bad if CNN's out there talking about it, because their job is to just ignore stuff like this. But they didn't in this case, at least for a few minutes. So I'll let you guys check into that if you're so inclined. And all of these links will be on the Substack post that I put out on Tuesday. So if you don't want to look it up yourself, that's fine. You can wait on the email. So definitely be on that email list. The address is in the upper right corner up there, diamonddisc.substack.com. So make sure you're on that list. Harris Waltz takes another savage blow thanks to a fresh round of dirt that is just unearthed. So there doesn't seem to be any lack of dirt with these, the dastardly duo. But let's just say that I don't think everybody is out there talking about all of the bad stuff he's apparently been involved in. And I'm going to not go into the thing that I'm thinking about right now, but let's just say it's the most disgusting thing you could ever think of. And apparently there was a news article written about it. I'll just leave it at that. And if it ever comes out, if it's true, of course, if it ever comes out, it might even be too much for some Democrats. I don't know. For many, it probably wouldn't be, but anyways, let's keep moving here. alphanews.org. Harris campaign quietly scrubs retired command sergeant major from his bio. They were calling him a retired command sergeant major, which of course he was not. He was not that. So anyway, again, more info on this site. Chaplain of Waltz's National Guard Battalion calls VP pick cowardly for abandoning his unit. The chaplain of Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz's Field Artillery Regiment said there's no excuse for the Democrat VP pick to have abandoned his National Guard unit before a critical deployment, not even running for Congress. In our world, to drop out after a warning order, is issued is cowardly, especially for a senior enlisted guy. Retired Captain Corey Bajertness, now a pastor in North Dakota, told the Post. Bajertness, 61, was the chaplain for the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery, of which Waltz was Command Sergeant Major before retiring in 2005, 2 months before the unit deployed to Iraq. 2 months before. Waltz has said he did so to run for Congress, and he was elected the next year. So, yes, but it'd be different if he was out there saying that he served and this just sort of left it at that. But no, he's saying that he was actually engaged in fighting over there in Iraq, which of course he wasn't. It's a complete and total lie. Anyway, that article is again on another mainstream news outlet, MSN. So wow, people are bothering to report it. I guess they're assuming that no one's going to read it, but we're reading it here, aren't we? Waltz implies that he suffered from PTSD from serving in the Afghanistan war, except he'd never deployed to Afghanistan or any other combat zone. This is the definition of stolen valor for political gain. So let me go ahead and play this one too, just to kind of get it on the record here.
And both of you, with your keen understanding of how this works, especially from National Guard families, I can tell you this, having been one of those that came back, we were in support of OEF, but sitting in there with OIF veterans, when we came back, they showed us the horse whisperer and told us to be nice when we went home. And that was the extent of it. That was in 2004. Now, I'm proud to say that because of the people sitting in here and people who came before me, things have changed over the last 4 years. They have not changed enough. But Mr. Kennedy is following and moving something forward that the late senator from Minnesota, Senator Wellstone, advocated so clearly, mental health parity, and this issue of destigmatizing mental health, of understanding. And I being in there and knowing as a first sergeant, know exactly what you're saying, and watching as people aren't trained on this, that there is there's a discrimination that goes against a soldier who has the courage, the fortitude, and as you said, the insight to admit this. So there's a couple things I want to ask you.
Okay, well, you get the idea here. Yeah, he's basically insinuating that he was one of them, that he was suffering from PTSD. So, yeah. More of the stolen valor story. All right, let's see. Discern report. CDC was breaking the law by deleting information. Court rules. Center for Disease Creation has been involved in numerous scandals in recent years. Now a judge has ruled that the CDC has been breaking the law, likely for years, by deleting information that should have been kept for government records. Yes, of course. The America First Legal secured a preliminary injunction against Biden-Harris administration for its policies that routinely result in the illegal destruction of CDC employee emails after they quit their jobs, violating the Federal Records Act. So if somebody quits their job there, apparently they're deleting records. Wow. So yeah, then you can't FOIA them, I suppose. Anyways, not too surprising though either. All right, headlines on reclaimthenet.org. Maduro blocks X as Musk feud escalates. Suspension of X intensifies the political standoff as Venezuela faces global scrutiny over its disputed presidential election. Yep. And then new documents show FBI implemented nationwide social media monitoring ahead of the 2022 midterms. Lawsuit reveals FBI's extensive monitoring of domestic social media. Ayman Khalef seeks to unmask cyberbullies behind online criticism. So this is, I mentioned this guy last week. This is the guy who's winning a gold medal beating up women. And he literally did do that. And what I just said there, he would consider being cyberbullied and doesn't like that very much. So, but just know that you can't criticize these crazy people out there. You just can't do it. Otherwise, they come after you. Louisiana's new law sparks First Amendment showdown. So all these free speech things coming out. You wouldn't think that it would, but free speech is becoming one of the most important issues of the day. Media companies sue Louisiana, arguing new law cripples police accountability and infringes on First Amendment rights. Facebook takes sides in Olympic gender debate as #XX is blocked, which of course means the women's XX meaning the women's chromosome versus XY, you know, and the guy that won the gold here, this guy who's an XY, I think he would be offended by that. So yes, the XX hashtag. Facebook hides posts with viral XX hashtag amid heated debate over gender eligibility in women's Olympic boxing. Starmer's push to police fake news sparks major censorship concerns. Proposed crackdown on misinformation raises alarm over creeping censorship and threats to free speech. So once again, concerns over free speech, as it should be. All right, let's see. The Liberty Beacon, I mentioned this a little while ago. 8 cancer doctors were on board the Brazilian flight that stalled and crashed. Shades of flight MH17, question mark. 8 cancer doctors dead in Brazil plane crash. Apparently a rare type of plane crash happened Friday. The news about 6 oncologists and 2 oncology student doctors, being on board is now doing the rounds. It is indeed mightily curious given everything we know. Plane crash is killing all 61 on board. So I don't know if you guys saw this. It's very disturbing. I think it's okay to show it. There's nothing graphic in this first video here, so I think we can probably watch this and be okay.
Porra! Caralho,
like
bicho.
Something out of a movie.
Nossa.
Right in this guy's backyard.
É doido.
So, anyway, yeah, you can just see it's falling out of the sky right there. Now, apparently it stalled. Let's see here. Looking to see if there's anything about what happened. It says this particular article is mostly about the doctors. Well, now we know who was killed in that plane crash over Brazil was cancer doctors. Well, some of them. Just like flight MH17 killed all the top HIV doctors on their way to a conference disputing Fauci's AIDS lies, I'd put money that these cancer doctors knew that the sneeze causing ... I think it's probably talking about causing people to die. So yeah. And then there's a link over here to the Daily Mail article. 8 cancer doctors who dedicated their lives to saving others among the 62 passengers and crew aboard on doomed Brazil flight that plunged from the sky and exploded in a fireball when they were on their way to a conference. So they were headed towards a conference when this happened. And you can see that it crashed right here. This is the tail back here. So it narrowly missed this house. I mean, it crashed literally right beside this house in someone's side yard or backyard. So that is total insanity. What I was looking to see was if it said anything about the conference. Their final year of training. 6 leading oncologists and 2 resident medics in their final year of training were on their way from their home to a cancer conference in Sao Paulo when the twin-engine turboprop airline flight crashed into a gated community, killing all on board on Friday. So yeah, it does sound a little bit suspicious, doesn't it? Wow. The doctors were going to an oncology conference. These were people who dedicated their lives to saving others. So, yeah, and then it talked about people who missed the flight, who had to board an earlier flight or were delayed or whatever. People that ended up living because they weren't on the plane. So, total craziness. Route of the doomed Brazilian flight. Here it was here, and then it crashed right before it was on approach there to Sao Paulo. So, wow. They always have a lot of photos. This was the captain. They always have a lot of photos usually on Daily Mail's website. So it's a good way to get more information a lot of times. Even if you don't necessarily buy into what they're writing, they usually do have some good photos of what happened with a particular story. Anyway, that was that, and then this is the footage of where it is, where I was just showing you. You can see how it was right up against this house. How it missed the house, I have no idea. But apparently no one on the ground was hurt in any way. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, let's see here. UK police chief threatens to arrest people around the world for online speech. Can English law take your free speech? I would say that's a big no, but they're trying to make sure it works for them. It's in a hit song, London Calling. The Clash warns. London calling to the faraway towns, now that war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld, come out of the cupboard, all you boys and girls. A Clash song. Pretty interesting. According to a new report, the British punk rock band may have been prophetic in 1979 in a way never foreseen in its apocalyptic lyric. This week, Metro Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley said that the police would not necessarily confine its arrests for free speech crimes to London or even the United Kingdom. Rowley suggests that Americans and other citizens could be extradited and brought to London for online postings. Extradited. Well, anyway, you can't disagree with what they say. And who heads up the everything, I should say, who heads up everything in the UK? I'll let you think about that one for just a second. VP Kamala Harris is literally running against herself. It's true, yeah. She's saying how she's going to change all these things, and yet it's her administration that's in charge now. Vice President Harris has been the biggest Bidenomics cheerleader over the last 3.5 years. That is called Bidenomics. Ha, ha, ha. That is called Bidenomics, and we are very proud of Bidenomics. She said 1 year ago, Bidenomics is working. VP Harris said at a separate event earlier in Biden's first term. Again and again and again, she's raised her leftist pom-poms and cheered. Bidenomics is working. You can hear the nervous chuckle when she claims over and over again that it's working. But in reality, America's working poor and middle class have been financially devastated by elevated inflation and high interest rates. If you talk with any blue-collar American and bring up supermarket prices, they instantly become enraged. The same goes for auto prices, shelter costs, power bills, insurance rates, pump prices, and on and on and on. Yeah, we all know that, don't we? Says she's literally running against herself. She says here, we believe in a future where we lower the cost of living. She's been in office for 3.5 years, over which the average American family has lost an extra $26,000 paying for the increased cost of living. So yes, she is running against herself. She's running against herself and old Joe and Obama and all of them. Liberty Beacon article as well. Trump campaign hacked. Microsoft says Iran-backed group is responsible. Pretty handy. Blame Iran for everything. Yep. In another news, Senator Lindsey Graham wants to go to war and bomb Iran. He doesn't even like Trump, but I'm sure he probably would if he could. Says Microsoft's Cyber Threat Assessment Unit said on August 9th that a high-ranking official on a U.S. presidential campaign had been hacked by an Iran-backed group, with the Trump campaign later revealing that it had been the target of a cyber attack and linked the breach to foreign sources hostile to the United States. Well, that could be the Obamas and the Bidens and the Kamala Harris and all those people. That's who are the real threats to the United States, if you ask me. Or at least the greatest. Report from Microsoft Threat Center indicates that an Iranian group called Mint Sandstorm, how about that for a name? It is connected to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, sent a spear phishing email in June to a high-ranking official in a presidential campaign from the compromised email account belonging to a former senior campaign advisor. Mint Sandstorm similarly targeted a presidential campaign in May and June 2020, 5 to 6 months ahead of the last U.S. presidential election. So, no details were released on the official's identity, but Microsoft's threat assessment team said the Iranian-linked breaches related to increasing attempts to influence the U.S. presidential election in November. Isn't that handy? Yeah, anyways, so that one is on the Liberty Beacon as well. A couple articles here from RT. Fire breaks out at nuclear plant after Ukrainian attack. Again, the Zaporizhia plant has been put into cold shutdown as a precaution while emergency workers fight to extinguish the blaze. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant has caught fire after being shelled by Ukrainian forces. The governor of Russia's Zaporizhia region announced on Sunday fire is under control. So they are all totally fine in Ukraine, at least the leadership is, with there being a nuclear incident at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. They're shelling it again. Not the first time. Now, more craziness in the UK. UK doctors have been ordered to ask men if they're pregnant. NHS reportedly issued a new guidance after an expecting transgender person had a CT scan which could endanger the fetus. How about that? British health authorities have instructed doctors performing X-ray, CT, and MRI scans to ask men whether they're pregnant. This is where we are in the world. The inclusive pregnancy status guidelines for ionizing radiation were developed by the Society of Radiographers, also known as SORE, as in hurt, as in butt hurt, if you ask me. According to the Telegraph, the guidance came in response to an incident in which a transgender man, meaning a woman, had a CT scan while pregnant. The decision was justified by the fact that the radiation from X-ray and CT and MRI scans can be harmful to unborn babies. So they're really concerned about the baby. Never mind all the lies. But, yeah. So the transgender man, i.e. biological woman, was actually pregnant, and she nearly harmed her baby. So that is why they're now having to ask all men if they are pregnant. Okay. Dumb Harris always gives the exact same speech, Trump says. Well, you want to hear it, don't you? You probably don't, but I'm going to play it anyway.
It is good to be back in Pennsylvania. It really is good to be back in Wisconsin. It is so good to be back in Michigan. I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. And listen, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type. In this campaign, I proudly put my record against his any day of the week. In this campaign, I'll tell you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week. Are you ready to make your voices heard? Ready to make your voices heard? Are you ready to make your voices heard? When we fight, we win!
There you have it. Yep. It's a little bit repetitious. It's a little bit repetitious. It's a little bit repetitious. We don't like to read teleprompters, right? Trump told his supporters. It's not as much fun, it's not as exciting. While Trump does not use a teleprompter for most of his rallies, he frequently goes off script and is known for his unprepared clashes with the media. Harris, on the other hand, is often mocked by conservatives, I would say rightfully so, for delivering rambling answers when put on the spot. Yeah, she tries to sound intellectual, but it just comes across as a complete moron. Because she is. So anyway, there you have it. I wanted to play the video mostly. I knew that you guys would like that one. And then controversial athlete wins Olympic gold in female boxing. Controversial. I don't think that's the word that I would use. This is on WNG.org or the SIFT. Passenger plane carrying more than 60 people crashes in Brazil. Texas governor orders hospitals to report illegals, immigrants' healthcare costs. Russia declares emergency after Ukrainian incursion. So that's a few of the headlines on WNG.org/SIFT. This is the one that I pulled up, though, the main one I wanted to mention. Japan's prime minister cancels trip after megaquake warning. Japan Meteorological Agency Thursday night warned citizens that a major earthquake could hit the country's southwestern Pacific coast after a magnitude 7.1 earthquake shook the island of Kyushu. With the elevated risk of a major earthquake, civilians should stay alert for evacuation orders via TV or radio, the chief cabinet secretary said. The quake could hit between a 6.0 and a maximum 7.0 on Japan's Shindo scale, he added. It's the first time the agency had issued such an earthquake warning of this magnitude. If a major earthquake occurs, strong shaking and large tsunamis would be generated. Well, 6.0, 7.0 on the Richter scale, that's not really the case. Probably wouldn't generate as much of a tsunami, if any. But I don't know what this Japan scale is as far as the intensity goes. But what's interesting to me here is that they are apparently watching the Dutch Sense channel on YouTube because they are, I guess, to some degree, doing their own earthquake forecasting, which he's proven on his YouTube channel after many years. He's proven over and over again that it is possible. And of course, the American USGS and many others are in total denial that it is possible to predict earthquakes, but it is. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. And Dutch has, I guess, shut off his Twitter X account, but he is still apparently on YouTube, although he does take his videos down there sometimes. And he reposted a few things on Facebook recently. So yeah, and then I shared them as well on my page. So if you guys are on Facebook by chance, you can still get some of that info on there, shared from Dutch Sense's page on Facebook and his YouTube videos. But again, if you go share his videos, he might very well take them down. He doesn't always leave them up, which I haven't totally figured that one out, but that's the way it is. So anyways, something to keep an eye on, though, on the whole megaquake possibility over in Japan. And I mentioned just last week that one of the things that I was made aware of and recently found out about was the possibility of, and of course it was the title of last week's show, in part, that there may be a huge volcanic eruption, undersea volcanic eruption as well, that could be tied directly to the perihelion status of the Nemesis system entering into our system. So that's something that we're going to look at just a little bit today as well, because I found an article about that, which was surprising to me. But I do think that's interesting that now Japan is saying, yeah, there might be a huge earthquake, which that's different than a volcanic blast, but still very interesting for sure. PeoplesVoice.tv, UK police chief threatens to prosecute Elon Musk. So they're going after Musk now too. Their tyranny knows no bounds, apparently. NHS staff ordered to ask men if they're pregnant, which we just covered that. Second Olympic boxer at center of gender controversy wins gold. So again, they got the men beating the women in the women's boxing and winning the gold. Again, UK government plan will force tech giants to ban fake news. Force tech giants. Olympic boss claims there's no scientific way to identify biological men and women. The Olympics boss said there's no scientific way to identify men and women. Has he ever pulled down his pants and looked in the mirror? Apparently not. Democrats caught using AI to fake a crowd for Kamala Harris at an Air Force Two event. The Harris Walls campaign's been exposed for you. Talk about pulling your pants down. They've been exposed for using AI to deceive TV audiences into believing that their rallies are sold out and filled with enthusiastic supporters. In truth, these events have seen low turnout. Yeah, they've gotten high turnout, though, in some of the arenas and places like that because they're bringing in popular singers or rappers, and the people go to the arenas to see the free concert, and then Harris shows up, and then a lot of the people leave. Or sometimes people do stick around to see what she says, but they're not coming there to see her. They're coming there to see the music act. This is happening over and over again. They're paying these music acts to be there so that they can have the huge crowd, and then they basically throw her on stage as well. At least 100 killed and dozens injured after Israeli airstrike on Gaza's school. So it continues. I think I've got another article on that, if I remember right. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Smartmatic voting machines president arrested for election fraud. His main job, apparently he's really good at it, election fraud. President of electronic voting machine company Smartmatic, Roger Alejandro Penate Martinez, was indicted on Thursday for committing election fraud. So, federal grand jury indicted the group for participating in alleged bribery. That's why they have them to begin with, so they can control the elections. That's how it works, right? We all know that. All right, let's see here a few of the information liberation headlines. UK government threatens to extradite Americans for incitement. Censor legal but harmful content. Legal but harmful. Biden lifts ban on offensive weapons sales to Saudi Arabia. Lifts the ban. I'm speaking. Kamala Harris pivots from I see you and I hear you on Palestine. Former Israeli PM threatens U.S. will get a rerun of 9/11 if it doesn't fight Israel's wars. Isn't that nice? The U.S. will get a rerun of 9/11. Yes, because he should know they were instrumental in making sure 9/11 happened. And boy, it did it. And the Mossad was partly to blame. So anyway, of course they're blaming Iran, but last time I checked, it was not Iran that did the 9/11 demolition of the buildings. Nope. It was an inside job, as we all know. Poll. Most Americans oppose sending U.S. troops to defend Israel. You can count me in that group. GOP cries anti-Semitism after Kamala Harris picks Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro for a Veep. And it goes on. There's quite a few headlines over here on information liberation. And then this is kind of what I was alluding to a little while ago. They're all standing around this monitor. Says UK government threatens to extradite Americans for incitement, censor legal but harmful content. UK Prime Minister Starmer is rounding up Brits and launching a totalitarian crackdown in response to last week's fiery but mostly peaceful protests over a Rwandan teen stabbing 3 British girls to death. And this is him kneeling for Black Lives Matter. This is what Starmer has to say about the brutal killings of 3 young girls that sparked riots all over the UK. He says it doesn't matter. And there's the little girls, if you want to put faces with what we've talked about here. This is, let's see, 3 girls stabbing in Southport. 6-year-old BB, 7-year-old Elsie, and 9-year-old Alice. Wow. Those 3 little ones are no longer with us because of a knife attack. And now this guy thinks it doesn't matter, and your opinion on the whole thing doesn't matter. And if you say anything against what we say, we're going to come get you. We're going to come arrest you or whatever. So, yeah. The news talks about white riots as Muslims walk by with machetes.
And look very pleased about it whilst they did it. Then there was this, as I say, clash between protesters and the police, and that is when they then ran off across the park here. A big group ran off looking for trouble, it looked like, to us. So we're just going to step away now from this group behind us, but a lot of disorder here, a lot of...
Yes, note that as these people walk by here, there's a guy with the machete right there. Uh-huh. Yeah. White riots, and the Muslims get to have machetes. I don't think it's the problem, do you? Total craziness. Anyway, that's just a post I found on Twitter. And this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. Who's in charge of all of what's going on over there? It's the Crown. Who's in charge of the Crown? The soon-to-be Antichrist. That's where all this stuff's stemming from, if you ask me. Crown Prosecution Service. As of today, our prosecutors have helped secure charges for 263 people. So this is people that they're going after, at least in part, for their social media posts and things that they are doing and saying out in public. So the Crown Prosecution Service. Yeah. It says the Crown Prosecution Service is responsible for criminal prosecutions in England and Wales. So, wow. Anyway, that was a Twitter account I found. What's the emergency? Someone is telling the truth on X. Pretty good meme. That's pretty much exactly what's going on. Now, this is a video on Greg Reese's Substack. I didn't play it tonight yet, but let me just read through what it's about. 70,000 terrorists with biometric U.S. passports. America needs all patriots to defend her now more than ever, he says. So this is a Greg Reese report. I guess we could watch it. I've got it pulled up here. And he's got two from this week. I didn't play either one at the beginning of the show. I thought this one was pretty good. It has to do with the Israeli false flags and the election coming up. So let's go ahead and watch this one, though. I think this one's probably worth checking out because I would imagine most of you guys have not heard about this. But you can thank old Joe and team yet again for this one.
Journalist Lara Logan recently interviewed Dr. Keith Rose, who has worked in clandestine U.S. intelligence operations for 3 decades and is now going public because he is concerned for his country. He said that within 2 weeks of America's hasty exit from Afghanistan, the head of the CIA met in secret with all of America's enemies.
During that week and a half before, there was an open source meeting, or people knew about a meeting of the director of Central Intelligence at the time, Burns, was down there meeting with other officials and members of the Taliban. But I've talked to several people that have intimate knowledge of that meeting, and they're telling me, or they're asking the question, why were there 2 senior Chinese intel officials at that meeting? Why was Siraj Haqqani, who at the time we had a $10 million bounty from the State Department on him at that meeting? And the other thing is there was a senior official or senior officer from the IRGC, the Iranian Republican Guard, who was a Quds Force commander that we're very familiar with from Iraq. He's a very, very competent officer. He was there. They didn't even use CIA personnel for security. They were so concerned, from what I'm hearing, about the people they were meeting with, that they used one of our tier 1 groups for security, and they kept them on the outside. They weren't allowed to listen in or anything.
And after the U.S. government abandoned trusted personnel and billions of dollars worth of weapons in Afghanistan, the communist Chinese secured it within 2 weeks.
Bagram Airfield, when we left there first, went completely black. It was dark. The people that were there said they landed two large Chinese transport planes landed with troops and secured that area.
70,000 jihadis have graduated from Afghan terrorist training camps in just this year alone.
These are actual terrorist training madrasas?
Right. Madrasas that train people on small arms tactics, on bomb making, on basic intelligence tradecraft. And we know for a fact, because we have several assets in all over Afghanistan, that they graduated this year, was their largest graduating class from all the madrasas. And these are for what they would call jihadis, guys that were going to go and fight the holy war. And they said they had over 70,000 graduates.
And not only did the U.S. leave behind weapons, it left behind biometric data and the kit required to make official U.S. passports.
The Afghans have the ability through their passport office to create biometric passports. Not only did we leave behind biometric equipment, but the intelligence services are responsible for setting up the passport office, let's just say documentation stamps and things like that. And there's been several questions asked, did we leave certain pieces of equipment that would be used in a passport office to authenticate passports behind? And my understanding, and from what I've been discovering, is we did.
Western nations are under attack from traitors within their own governments. The people of Ireland and the UK are beginning to stand up. In response, combat journalist Michael Yawn recently explained what typically happens within the native population when a nation is invaded.
When there is an actual invasion from an outside force, the minorities or people who feel that they've been downtrodden, almost in every single case will join with the invader. In fact, I can't think of one where they did not. That concerns me greatly with the United States because we are clearly being invaded, and it's clearly going to intensify, for instance, with the Chinese. And many people will join the Chinese, including a lot of white people, by the way, will join up with them and already are, including our government, which has joined with Israel and China and Ukraine, right, basically globalists, right, and not us. And so the police are going to have to pick a side. Right now they are picking a side. They're picking the anti-British side or the anti-Irish side, and that's a losing battle. That means you end up dying. As a police, you'll end up dying. Your police stations will be burned down, or you'll run to other countries because you didn't have the guts, like our Border Patrol, to stand up. If the invaders win, you're going to die. You're going to die, or you're going to leave at some point and abandon everything that you've ever had in those countries. If the Patriots win, you will never be forgotten. Your children will not be forgotten for your cowardice, for not standing up. Bottom line. And cowards are natural traitors.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Wow, it's quite a report, huh? So yeah, 70,000 terrorists with biometric U.S. passports and the equipment to make more. Man, thank you, Joe Biden and company, huh? Total insanity. Just thought you guys would want to know about that. American soldiers are hit in huge rocket attack on military base in Iraq as officials make chilling prediction. And this is not something you've heard our illustrious president of the United States say anything about. He's been MIA. A huge rocket attack on the Ain al-Assad base in Iraq wounded several quote-unquote American soldiers on Monday, officials said, just a day after Blinken made chilling predictions of an Iranian counterattack on Israel, which is still not materialized at this point. But we will see how it all plays out. But yeah, the base in the west of the country was targeted by 2 Soviet-made rockets amid soaring tensions in the Middle East, with Iran threatening to strike Israel as early as tonight. This is dated back on August the 6th, so a few days ago now. But anyway, yeah, I just read this because this is something that you've heard very little, if anything, about the rocket attack and American soldiers being hurt, being injured in the attack. And as far as I know, the fake administration hasn't said squat about it. So once again, just if they don't talk about it, then apparently it never happened. So I found this interesting headline. I think many of you guys may have already known this happened, but world markets plummet as Lockheed Martin shares soar 23%. Is World War III coming? The economy collapses, stocks and shares lose crazy amounts, but there is one sector that is growing strongly instead, the war industry. In an astonishing development, the shares of Lockheed Martin among the world leaders in the war industry have risen 23%, while global markets have suffered significant declines. This anomaly can be attributed to a combination of strong financial performance, geopolitical tensions, and increased demand for defensive technologies. Yes, and probably lots of insider trading as well. Anyway, 24-hour stock trading update. NVIDIA down 15%, Tesla down 12%, Apple down 10.5%, Facebook down 10.5%, Microsoft down 10%, Amazon down 10%, Google down 10%, but Lockheed Martin up 23%. Yeah. It's just a coincidence. I do think that they are all in a conspiracy together to start World War III, don't you? Is it 1968 all over again? I think that is something that I said just a few broadcasts back. I'm glad to see someone has picked up on that idea. Talking about all the stuff that happened in 68 and comparing it to now. So that is what this article's about. Talking about the Trump attempted assassination and what happened with LBJ and him not running again and all this stuff that's going on now, comparing it to now versus 1968. So anyway, it's there if you guys want to check it out. I think it's a pretty interesting idea. Let me start with just the beginning here. It's 2024, a repeat of 1968. Sure looks like it to me. Let's examine the parallels. Seymour Hersh, the reporter that was recruited in late 67 to handle the press and write speeches for Democrat Senator McCarthy of Minnesota again. McCarthy sought the Democrat presidential nomination in 68, challenging Lyndon Baines Johnson on the anti-Vietnam War platform. McCarthy unsuccessfully ran for president 4 more times. Hersh is one of the few journalists with reliable sources on the inside of the Democrat Party. In other words, what I'm writing in this newsletter has pretty much been confirmed by Hersh, so you know it's true. Hersh on Monday, July 15th, 2 days after the swamp failed to assassinate Trump, Biden took off on Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada and gave a keynote address to the annual convention of the NAACP. The next day, Team Biden made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police they were heading to the nearest ER. At that point, Biden was deathly pale. Air Force One flew at maximum speed to Delaware, where Biden has a weekend retreat at the beach. Press pool was told that Biden had COVID. Nothing more was said on Air Force One. The White House told the public that Biden had contracted COVID and would be in isolation. That was the last straw for a core group of big Democrat donors who were withholding huge amounts of money from the Biden-Harris campaign. There was pressure on Democrat donors to come across on their pending commitments. They all knew that Biden had some kind of physical problem in Las Vegas, and the Biden family was saying no to continued pressure to withdraw. It says by Saturday, July 20th, Obama became involved. There was talk that he would place a call to Biden to tell him to step down. It was not clear that Biden had been examined or just what had happened to him in Las Vegas. Call from Obama to Biden was approved by the Big Three, former House Speaker Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. On Sunday morning, the 21st of July, with the approval of Pelosi, Jeffries, and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th. So basically meaning he's unfit to carry out the powers, which he's never been fit to carry out the powers. So anyway, and he goes on about what's happened here more recently, and then comparing that to what happened in 68 here. So kind of interesting. Lots of interesting parallels. All right, this is the one that I alluded to a little while ago that I found and thought it was kind of interesting. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this. It looks like squawk, but it's SQAUK.com. Biblical flooding completely erases Chinese city, raises fears of U.S. following suit. Biblical flooding creates terrifying scenes from Dandong depicting a city swallowed by unprecedented floods, sparking global alarm. Experts warn the U.S. could face similar devastation as extreme weather patterns escalate, which, as you guys know, many of you guys who are regular listeners on this broadcast know that I personally think a lot of this weather warfare that's going on is geoengineering based. However, there are other explanations, And the thing that always gets the blame, at least in the mainstream media, and much of the blame, even in alternative media, the folks who don't understand how geoengineering works, or that it even exists or won't acknowledge it, just blame it on climate change to whatever degree. Global warming, climate change, global cooling, whatever they're saying, right? So, but there is something else that we should consider, and I brought it up last week. In fact, it was the name of the show last week. But look at this. I've got it highlighted here. Claims that the Planet X Nemesis system is approaching perihelion with Earth, and that we are likely seeing the onset of the 7-year tribulation discussed in the Bible. How about that? That is in this article. They're talking about the unprecedented biblical flooding is attributed to record-breaking rainfall exacerbated by climate change. So there's the climate change. No mention of geoengineering, of course. The scale of the disaster has prompted fears that other regions, including the U.S., could be next. Meteorologists and climate scientists are warning the same extreme weather patterns responsible. See, again, I think that's part of the issue, but it's not all of the issue. But they're blaming it completely. Same extreme weather patterns responsible for the Dandong disaster are forming across the globe. However, they need to talk to journalist Shepard Ambellis in his work, which documents how a massive celestial protuber, possibly 300 times the size of Jupiter, is likely responsible for the devastation. Ambellis claims that the Planet X Nemesis system is approaching perihelion with Earth, and that we are likely seeing the onset of the 7-year tribulation discussed in the Bible. I think we're already in that 7-year tribulation. Has this guy been watching this show or something? This is really strange. Very, very wild to me, at least. The United States has already experienced its fair share of unusual weather this year. I would say you could blame that, at least in large part, to to say that geoengineering's so catastrophically screwed up our weather systems and weather patterns that is what is really at fault, at least to some degree. I don't know if it's 100% of it, but to blame it all on global warming and having air conditioners and driving around cars is a bit crazy. However, it is interesting here what this article is bringing up. And this says the situation in Dandong is a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature and the consequence of our ever-changing planet. If we don't take immediate and drastic action to prepare the masses for what's coming, we could see similar scenes play out in American cities. So, anyway, flooding in Beijing is what this is talking about. Breaking news, China Doomsday leaked images of severe flooding in Beijing.
门都完蛋了，内涝了。看这公交车了吗？马上就没顶了。
So, anyway, yeah, you get the idea here of what's going on. This is crazy. Heavy rainfall has caused significant damage to residents, vehicles, stores, and factories, prompting concerns about potential impacts on the global economy and supply chain. So yeah, here's more video. So I just think it's really interesting that they're basically blaming Planet X, the Planet X system, for this, and we're going to look at that just a little bit closer. Some of you guys may think that I'm just sort of, I'm just one voice out there that's talking about this kind of stuff, but there are many of you guys who follow along with what's happening with Planet X. But there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. I do think that the best source out there, at least the best source that I've found on this whole issue, is this particular website, yowza.com, your own world USA. And I've mentioned it before. In fact, I just mentioned it last week. So I've got a video queued up here that I want to play just a little bit of, so that we could see some of what I've been talking about. I didn't really show any videos lately, but Marshall Masters recently did an interview here where he's talking on this YouTube video and showing some examples from his Telegram channel where he has basically fact-checked them and proven that these images that are posted there, he only allows the images that are posted on his Telegram channel to be accurate. So in other words, he does have a gamma test that he runs on these different images and videos that they post, and in fact verifies as best he can that they are real. So if you haven't seen this stuff, this is what we're looking out for. So take this into consideration. Whether or not it has anything to do with the catastrophic flooding in China, I don't know. It could be. It could very well have something to do with it. But we may see more and more of this type of stuff as we progress on and get closer and closer to perihelion, which is the Nemesis system reaching its closest point to our sun. And after that point, all bets are off. I would liken it to the coming of Wormwood. I think that is what's going on, because I see it from a biblical slant, a biblical standpoint. And Marshall Masters, who runs this website, doesn't I mean, he sees it to some degree that way, but not in the way that I'm describing. So let's take a look at some of this video, and let's hear what he has to say. I think it's pretty interesting.
Now here's another one, and I love this. Look at this again. We have the sun, and look at this nice long reflection in the water. Here is Nemesis, and Nemesis is partially occluded by the horizon. And pay close attention. Look at the reflection in the water. Smaller and shorter, but still nonetheless right there. I mean, this is
a great shot.
This is a great shot. And this was taken in Florida back a year ago. And that, so that's the reason why I want 2023, 2024, because really these last 2 years is where I'm getting the good stuff. The really good stuff. Now, here's another one. And what do we have? Nemesis is so occluded by cloud cover, it's not bright enough to reflect in the water. But the sun is, and it's not you're not seeing the white tips, in the reflection in the on the top of the waves. But still, this is a keeper. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful keeper. Now this is great. Look at this. Both Nemesis and the sun are shining through the foliage.
Yeah, that one's a bit harder to fake for the skeptics out there watching this video.
That's right.
Because I'm sure they're trying to shoot through everything we watched so far.
Oh, well, they come on. And
this one's good, though. This one's going to be harder to debunk.
Well, you can't look at that. I mean, it's like the branches are clearly covering.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to
and actually the sun,
dismiss.
Partially, although the sun's very bright.
Right.
But you cannot have, remember, a lens flare happens directly in front of the camera lens or inside the camera lens. It's not going to happen. This is probably 200-300 feet away from him.
Yeah, that's no lens flare, by the way.
That's it. There you go.
Okay. Well, anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's really just a very small portion of this video that's embedded on Yowza.com. So certainly worth checking out if you guys want to. What if two suns in the sky? Planet X is near. Marshall Masters interview here. So now there are some things he says in the video that I disagree with, but as far as the science part of what he talks about, I think he's spot on. So I just thought it was pretty wild, and as far as seeing the two suns, apparently it depends on where you are on the planet right now. Like he mentioned that he's getting quite a few reports from the Middle East. So I guess depending on where you are on the planet, and then the time of day is a huge part of it. Whether it's early in the morning or at dusk. Apparently those are the best times to see this, and it might look different depending on where you are on the planet versus time of day and stuff like that. So something to definitely keep an eye out for. I think that it will get more and more prevalent as we move forward the next few months. He's saying that by 2025, it will really make its presence known in more ways than one. So, yeah. So, anyways, something to definitely keep sharp eye on. I do think it will not only show itself in the skies, but also the weather could be impacted. We could see things like more earthquakes, more volcanic activity, things like that. And keeping in mind that the reason you can't see this second sun, it's the nemesis, is the sun of this secondary star system. The reason you can't see it most of the time is because it's on the opposite side of our sun. So unless you're going to stare at the sun, there's pretty much no chance of seeing it unless you do so when the rays of our sun are at a lower at a lower intensity, like in the mornings or in the evenings. So that's really the only time you're going to be able to see it. So yeah, Kelly's saying 2025 is going to be crazy. I think so too. I think so. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and that's the first article I've ever found where somebody is literally talking about the same exact thing and attributing it to some of the severe weather that we've had. So pretty wild, pretty wild. All right, naturalnews.com. Let's see. Tim Walz left 8 babies who survived botched abortions to die, government data shows. So more wonderful news about this crazy person who wants to horn his way into political life here in at the federal level. And let's see. Yeah, Met Police UK threatened terrorism charges against keyboard warriors who comment on immigration protests. Seems to be the theme this week. Joe Biden says the quiet part out loud about upcoming election and non-peaceful transfer of power. Yeah, he did say that he was saying that if Trump loses, that there would not be any there would not be a peaceful transfer of power. But then he also said if he wins, there would not be a peaceful transfer of power. He basically corrected himself in one way or the other. And he's saying that he thinks that, it's not going to happen. So I think he may be actually right about that, unfortunately. All right, Wine Press News. Well, the former YouTube CEO is front and center here on this particular site. But let's take a look at a few of the other headlines. LinkedIn co-founder predicts 9-to-5 jobs will cease to exist by 2034. 2034, 10 years. If we're all still here, he may be right. Or they may be right. I don't know if it's a he or she. But I don't know. Not sure if I buy that or not. 9-to-5 jobs will cease to exist in the next 10 years. Let's see here. It says Harris's VP pick, Walz, signs bills affirming state as trans refugee state. Trans refugee state. Lovely. Rumors of war. U.S. provides Philippines with $500 million in military aid to counter China. Deploys missiles as new proxy for the U.S. Wow. So the Philippines. Another proxy for the U.S. Minnesota Supreme Court rules person threatened or under attack can't draw a deadly weapon if it is reasonably possible to retreat. So, for those who are still in Minnesota, I guess my next question would be why? Because, man, is it going to be dangerous? I mean, and on purpose. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson encourages residents to report neighbors for misinformation. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of that. This has definitely been a free speech awareness type of broadcast tonight. Poking the bear, Ukraine increases strikes hundreds of miles deep into Russia. And Zelensky praises the operations. And one more on the Philippines. Philippines reports businesses and fines citizens for not using the National Digital ID. Wow. I'll have to ask my good friend Bart Sabrell about that. He lives in the Philippines now. I've never heard him mention it, but he's probably technically not a citizen, though, either, so I'll have to see what he says about that. Didn't sound like Joe Biden to me. Whoa. Pelosi admits others may have written Biden's dropout letter against his will, which is sort of what we kind of mentioned before when it all happened. I think a lot of people were thinking that, especially because the signatures didn't really match and wasn't on presidential letterhead and so forth. Pelosi on Sunday questioned the authenticity of Joe Biden's dropout letter. Biden dropped out of the 24 race on July 21st. He posted a dropout letter to X and then endorsed Kamala Harris, which I said at the time, there's no way. He doesn't probably even know how to, or even have access to his Twitter X account. Someone else does that. So, says according to NBC News, official statement announcing Biden's decision to drop out was already written by the time he finished the phone call with senior advisors on July 21st. 1 minute after he hung up, Biden's dropout letter was posted to his X account. Biden clearly did not write the letter. He also didn't post a letter to X, which is what I've been saying all along. But anyway, Pelosi accidentally blurted out the truth during an interview. I didn't accept the letter as anything but a letter. I mean, in another, there are some people who were unhappy with the letter, let me say. Some said that some people were unhappy with the letter. I think maybe Kamala Harris wrote that for her. Pelosi questioned the authenticity of Biden's dropout letter and suggested others may have written it. I'll put in somebody else's mouth because it was I don't even know. It didn't sound like Joe Biden to me. It really didn't, Pelosi said. Yeah, and the video is embedded here, actually. It's one of these Twitter links if you guys want to check that out on Gateway Pundit. Breaking Vegas police recordings released from Biden's sudden medical emergency and mad dash to Air Force One. POTUS is 421. Friday afternoon, Heritage Oversight Project released audio recordings from Las Vegas Metro Police Department's protective detail during Biden's sudden medical emergency on July 17th that was kept from the public. So, interesting. So the recordings are out there. Pretty wild. I was looking to see what a 421 is. See if it says. It probably does here somewhere. Anyway, just kind of more of the same. For everyone on the radio, right now POTUS is 421. He's being seen. So we're just kind of waiting to see how this is shaping out. So for everybody's knowledge, he's 421 right now. Code 421 denotes a sick or injured person, according to the Las Vegas Police Department. So 421, sick or injured. Here's the clip embedded here. It's 29 minutes. So knock yourself out if you want to watch that, or if you want to listen to it. It's all audio. Watch Biden speaks out for the first time on sinister Democrat coup to remove him from the presidential race. A sinister Democrat coup. Well, he was part of the sinister Democrat coup that removed Trump the first time around, and now he's been trumped himself by his own people. So obviously they don't care about each other. They eat their own. Well, anyway, I don't really feel too sorry for him. I just thought it was kind of an interesting headline. Harris lies about the size of Arizona rally crowd. Massive black curtains used to hide thousands of empty seats. So there's the big curtains. And then that's on top of the AI video that was put out where they've superimposed crowds in some of her gatherings. I don't know about necessarily arenas, but it's definitely on the tarmac where they made it look like more people were around than actually were. Crazy. Totally crazy. Anyways, yeah, they're using black curtains to cover up the empty seats. Delta Airlines may drop ladies and gentlemen in favor of gender-inclusive language. So you go woke and you go broke. Delta Airlines is once again staking itself out as one of the wokest companies in corporate America. According to the company, they have a chief diversity officer still. There are plans to drop the phrase ladies and gentlemen in favor of a more gender-inclusive language. Yes, because they have to play favorites to the 0.00001% of people who might get offended by the term ladies and gentlemen. We're beginning to take a hard look at things like our gate announcements. She explained in a video circulating on social media, you know, we welcome ladies and gentlemen, and we've asked ourselves, is that as gender inclusive as we want it to be? Of course it is. So anyways. More of the same. Delta Airlines. And then Olympics president, we would screen out men if science could tell men and women apart. Science can't tell men and women apart. Science has a foolproof way of telling whether someone was a man or woman. Chromosomes. If they're XY, you're looking at a guy. Apparently, that memo didn't make its way over to the office of the International Olympic Committee president, Thomas Bach, because he seemed to be a little more confused on the subject in recent comments. I still say the easiest way to tell is not an X and Y and X chromosome test. It's simply look in the mirror, pull your pants down, and then you'll find out. If you still don't know, then you got a problem. But that's way cheaper. Anyway, have them do that before they fill out the form saying if they're a man or woman. So anyways, that's where we are. That's where we are in this world. Christians are being arrested in Paris for driving around a bus carrying the message, stop attacks on Christians. Stop attacks on Christians. A pro-life, pro-family group, Citizen Go, took to the streets of Paris with a bus carrying the message, stop attacks on Christians. And what happens? They get attacked. They shared that on X for daring to spread their message during a time when Christians are being openly mocked during the Paris Olympics. 6 of their team members were arrested and spent the night in jail. In the days leading up to the opening, 3 drag queens were among the 10,000 torchbearers passing the flame until it reached its destination in Paris. Viewers across the planet were mortified by the opening ceremony after a crass reenactment of the Last Supper featuring provocatively dressed drag queens. You can insult, mock, and denigrate Christians without consequences, but spreading a pro-Christian message is apparently a bridge too far. Citizen Go shared on X, 6 of our team members were forced to spend the night in jail for simply denouncing the mockery of Christians by having the message, stop attacks on Christians, written on a bus. This is not illegal in any way, as the lawyer states. It appears impossible to constitute the crime of failing to communicate a protest because there's no protest in the presence of one unique vehicle. The prosecutor pushed the law to its limits to stop the bus and limit their free speech. Moreover, the procedure was irregular. In short, this is anti-Christian political and ideological persecution. No kidding. So anyway, then there's some pictures, and I'm guessing maybe some video as well here, linked. So yes, stop attacks on Christians, and then they get attacked. Of course. Let's see. Here's Tim Walz bragging about leaving his 87-year-old mom to fend for herself after heart surgery because of the pandemic.
And this is what we do in my family, but we can't. My 87-year-old mother had heart surgery. We isolated her. Our goal was to bring her up here and live with us for a while. We can't bring her. So she is alone. We're dropping groceries at the door. We have to, because otherwise what that front page story is going to go on day after day after day.
He's isolated his 87-year-old grandmother, his 87-year-old mother, and let her fend for herself. This one hits a little close to home for me personally because I've been through some of what he's talking about here. Although this was a case where his mother had heart surgery. Says our goal was to bring her up here to live with us for a while. We can't bring her, so she is alone. We're dropping groceries at the door. We have to. No, you don't have to. It's called being a human. And it's his own mother, for Pete's sake. Maybe I'm crazy, but this seems like a very weird thing to brag about. What kind of man treats his mom like this? Yes, that is a good question. Anyway, thought you guys would want to see that one. That's on notthebee.com. Okay, so this is kind of a funny one here. I will lower grocery prices on my first day as president, Kamala says. And people say, why don't you lower them right now? And Kamala says, pretty funny. Let's see. Biological male boxer Ayman Khalif wins Olympic gold medal. IOC claims no solid scientific system exists on how to identify men and women. It just doesn't exist. The science is not settled on how to identify men and women. It says a person with XY chromosomes, which is apparently a conspiracy theory, and therefore a biological male, according to both world boxing bodies, has won the women's boxing gold medal in the Olympics. Algerian boxer Ayman Khalif soundly defeated China's Yang Lu to take the gold at the Paris Games on Friday, prompting an instant backlash. Ayman Khalif, after receiving his women's welterweight Olympic gold medal. I kind of corrected the typo there. Retweet, IOC has failed women. A male boxer is now the female Olympic champion. Yep. There he is, biting the gold medal and showing his Adam's apple proudly. So this is what the world's come to, as you guys know. Yeah. So that's the man winning the women's gold. And then this one, police audio corroborates claim Biden had a medical emergency in Vegas. So this is really just more of what we'd already mentioned earlier. It's got the audio and stuff embedded. That's on modernity.news. Modernity.news as well. And then article headlines on vaccineimpact.com. There's just one problem. AI isn't intelligent, and that's a systemic risk, is the first article here. Big tech far-right billionaires want to eliminate politicians and democracy as they believe they can run the world better by themselves. Interesting that they have a picture of old JD there. And then Moscow rushes air defenses to Iran in payback for America arming Ukraine. Yep, they did do that. There's only one faith who will fight the good fight for the faith in these evil last days. That's right. What does the Bible teach about Christianity? So that is one of the articles on Vaccine Impact. A couple more here. Exclusive how a cybersecurity attack would cripple America after catastrophic crowdsource glitch, which I mentioned last week in a little bit more detail. Daily Mail shows how easy it is to cripple America via cyber attack, almost ensuring that it will happen. And then American big tech companies identified as complicit with war crimes of Israeli Zionist extremists as their stock market value continues to crumble. So, anyways, there's a few of the articles on vaccineimpact.com. Nearing the end here, we've got just a couple more. GeoWatch for this week, August 10th. Scientists have spotted unexpected X and C-shaped structures in the atmosphere. They are struggling to explain them. Question: what else is taking place in our atmosphere on a day-to-day basis that these so-called experts don't even try to explain, other than telling us we are not really seeing what we're seeing? They do a lot of that, for sure. Researchers reveal origins of climate-controlling particles. The report continues with this subheading: climate-controlling clouds. Are the atrocities in our skies now becoming all but impossible to hide in plain sight? And from MSN, this: Earth systems critical to all life are on the verge of total collapse. Have we reached the end of the line? And then Global Alert News is below. That is this week's show. It is Cloud Controlling Particles is the name of it. GeoWatch for this week, and it is available on all the various platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute. It's the same show everywhere this week, so make sure you check that out if you didn't already hear it. It's a good one, and definitely a must-hear. But they are every week. So that is Dane's show for this week. And then the scheduled weather, we have August 17th to 21st. Looks like that. Pretty much above normal. And only the Texas and Louisiana area. Maybe a little north of there as well. But interesting. Bands of cool and bands of hot. Which seems to be the normal every week sort of situation these days. So that is on the NOAA scheduled weather map there. And I didn't have anything, I don't think, pulled up specifically on Israel365news.com. I did think this was kind of funny. Biden apparently issued a warning to Iran, and it was just the word don't. Don't. Maybe that's all he's capable of saying. I don't know. But pretty funny. And very strange. So let's see here. We have the Substack. So if you guys aren't on Substack, make sure you're on there on that list. diamonddisc.substack.com. I think that was the end of the articles I had for tonight. I've got one more video tonight, though, called We Are in Lockstep with This Operation. So stay tuned for that. We'll close with that tonight. Let's see. Well, Substack post, make sure you are on there so you get that on Tuesday when I send it out. It's been pretty much Tuesday every single week the last month or two because that seems to be when I have time to get the YouTube censored version completed and uploaded to YouTube. So because I have to modify the videos enough to where I'm removing any medical misinformation I might have said. Basically any truth about the sky because I have to take that out. I've been doing some things the last few weeks where you might notice it if you happen to hear the YouTube version where I'm going in and reversing certain words or phrases. So it might sound like it's not Russian though. It's I go in and reverse certain words so that their system can't catch what I'm saying. And it matches. It doesn't match with the lip movement at that time, but it stays in sync. So it's an easy way for me to mask what I'm saying, and that it does seem to work pretty well. So far, so good, at least on their system. So, Verba Homefront saying thank you for supporting us and mentioning it. Yeah, we love having running water again. Good, glad to hear it, and you're welcome. Yeah, happy to help with that in whatever small way I was able to, and we get the word out a little bit here, so that's good. And then let's see here. There's one other comment here. Comment from Susan. Doug, thank you for your love for truth, your time and devotion to sharing with us. Seems rude to type in all caps though. No, it's fine. It's fine. That way I see it like that. I saw that one. So thank you, Susan. Appreciate that, and thank you guys so much for your support. I definitely appreciate that. So appreciate that, and you guys spending your time to be here every week. And just know that is something that I definitely value very, very much. So, and then here is the Diamond Report store. If you guys haven't seen it, please go there and check that out. It's a good way to support the program if you're so inclined, and no pressure, but it is there if you guys want. I have end times dates logos and Diamond Report logos on all these different products here, and you guys are welcome to take a look at that. Also, Diamond Disc Audio logos. That's my music company on a few things, not very many. Mostly it's the Diamond Report. And Conspiracy Analyst, which has kind of become my catchphrase instead of Conspiracy Theorist. So yes, Conspiracy Analyst. There it is on a hat. So you too can be the proud owner of a Conspiracy Analyst hat if you would like. It's available on the Diamond Report store. The link's in the upper right corner up there, shop.thediamond.report. So anyway, that's it from me this week, I think, you guys. So make sure you're following along on X, the Diamond Report on X, the Diamond RPRT on X. I do posts and reposts on there quite a bit. Thought this was kind of interesting. Take a look at this picture. This is what Kamala's VP Tim Walz lied about doing, and why stolen valor is a crime. Look at this guy. This poor guy has been through it. Man. Yeah, that is why stolen valor is a crime. So just remember that. So anyways, and then, lots of interesting things here on Twitter that I found that I repost or post, just myself, just come up with things and post as well. Take to Lord in Prayer End Times Dates on YouTube. I would ask you guys who are subscribers on YouTube to please check your subscriptions, because I'm still seeing people being removed more often than they're being added. So my numbers on YouTube are going down. So either this show is really bad, or people are subscribing and unsubscribing on purpose, or it's YouTube doing it. And maybe it's a combination of all the above. I don't know. But definitely check your YouTube subscription if you don't mind subscribing. Do that. That definitely helps me out. If you don't want to contribute financially, just subscribe and or share what I'm doing. I definitely appreciate that. That is super helpful. So I'm also on Rumble. Most of the other platforms, I am Diamond Disc, DIAMONDISC. That's my company name. That's what that is. And I used to be Diamond Disc on YouTube until they banned my channel. Susan, what's her name, and her team of rabid tyrants back in 2021, right as the subscribers was rolling out, banned my channel and many, many others. So I've not been able to build the channel back up anywhere near to where it was, but at least I do have a channel on there still, and I'm able to talk to you guys using it. So I think that's good. So anyway, Rumble, I'm Diamond Disc on there, and also BitChute and Brighteon. Also good platforms, much smaller, but still definitely helpful. And then Miss Emily's posted link in the chat for Band as well. So if you're not in the Band group, definitely feel free to join that if you're interested in being part of a community. And it really is, people helping each other out, like we've witnessed with the Verbas, and the sharing of information. I think is a good thing. I always want to know what you guys are looking at, what you guys are reporting, and it's a good way for me too to not be censored when posting breaking news about things. So sometimes, when things happen and I'm not doing a live broadcast, I can go in and make a post on Band, and then people who are in there see it first. Obviously, I can do that on Facebook too to some degree, but I think less people see it, obviously, because of shadow banning and so forth. Plus, then Facebook doesn't like most anything that I post. So. But with YouTube, I do the text-based posts. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would ask that you guys do that, because you will see some YouTube posts I put on there, although I don't do breaking news and stuff on there really ever. So anyway, I guess that's it for me tonight. We can wrap it up, and hope you guys have a blessed week. I do have one more video tonight. We'll watch that on the way out here. So I'll warn you up front, though, it's got AJ talking in it. If you know who AJ is and you don't like him, maybe shut it off now so you're not forever damaged by hearing his voice or seeing him. But I thought this was a pretty good video. It's a play on the whole Operation Lockstep thing, because it's called We Are in Lockstep with the Operation. So definitely has a lot of really good information, I think, in it. So hope you guys have a blessed week. Definitely stay tuned, and we'll have more craziness next week, I'm sure. If anything breaking and massive happens, we'll do another broadcast in between now and next Sunday. But it's looking like right now the next broadcast would be 10 p.m. Central on the 18th. 666. On the 18th of August. So we are well into it at this point. We are well into it. I can't believe we're this far into the year already. So crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys have a blessed week. Love you all. Take care, and I'll talk to you again very soon.